everyone, and welcome to another edition of the NCAA Football Throwdown podcast. I am EJ Carr, and
You are now listening
to the Rainmaker.
yes, you are. And now that you've soaked in my team total podcast, oh boy, we're getting closer to the kickoff of the 2025 college football regular season, and 5 games appear on the August 23rd calendar. So that will be the emphasis today. Thanks for joining me again. And how exciting is this? Opening weekend has everyone excited to have football back. NFL opening week isn't that far away either. So let's chop up some games and ring the bell. The bell means it's time to turn it on. If you did listen to either my Team Total Future show or last week's Build the Bigger Bankroll show, you know I already have Hawaii as a play for this weekend, and I'll just start there before I get to Dublin. I know that K-State and Iowa State are already in Ireland. Get a few practices in before their big game in Dublin, but you know what? We'll get to that game in a minute. Hawaii is hosting Stanford. And yes, the Cardinal have played the Rainbow Warriors 4 times and are a perfect 4-0 against them. All 4 meetings have been played on the island. They last met here a couple years ago. Of course, Stanford obviously won that game. Hawaii is 11-4 in the last 15 season opening games, though, and they're slightly favored at -1.5. Now I see it starting to slide up to -2. Boy, I hope by Saturday it's not -3 and you didn't get it in, because you should have Hawaii on your board already. There's a 53 on that total. It's weird. I saw the freshman Elijah Brown set to be the opening day starter for the Cardinal. And I listened to his interview during the spring practices, and he admitted, you know what, I'm not a vocal leader, but I just want to lead by example. Okay. Well, and we know he likes Nate Byam as their new offensive coordinator. He says he brings a good energy and really helped him with processing and getting the ball out on time. Of course, Frank Reich is taking over as their head coach this year, but Stanford is still predicted to finish last in the ACC. But now that they announced it, Oregon State transfer Ben Galbranson is going to be starting this game in Hawaii. So, of course, he has 12 starts in 3 years with the Oregon State and the Beavers, but he was with them for 5 years, really. He was the 2022 Vegas Bowl MVP against Florida. Beavers killed them that year. But you know what? He's got a 14-10 touchdown to interception ratio over that time, and what he'll give Stanford is still being deliberated in the jury room. So his first test comes on the road in Hawaii. And did you see that Stanford will travel 26,000 miles this year? When you join the ACC and you play your home games in California, man, they go from Hawaii, and they're going to go face BYU on September 6th. And they have road games in Virginia, SMU, Miami, and North Carolina, which is basically goes across the country. It goes up for SMU and Texas, of course, but that's a lot of air miles, baby. Hawaii. Oh, Micah Halado set the freshman passing record with that 469-yard day against New Mexico in last year's regular season finale. And it's been 3 years since the Rainbow Warriors have appeared in a bowl game. Sims and Barfield and Vaughn are all returning in that Hawaii backfield. Now, the Street carried the ball 130 times last year. Not one of them fumbled the ball once. Man, that is good stuff. When you can rely on your guys not to put the ball on the ground. They also get their top 2 wideouts back. Even though Hawaii didn't pick up too many guys in the transfer portal, they did find 3 wide receivers. Going to give Timmy Chang arguably his best wide receiving core in his 4th year with the Bows. Stanford transferred Jackson Harris, probably one of those new faces who wants to make sure he gets the ball and makes Stanford pay a little bit. But you know what? All this points has points written all over it too. I know Stanford's returning most of its defensive backfield, which is probably their most solid part of their whole entire defense. But 4 straight 3-9 campaigns. It's not really tough to not notice that, man. Expectations are low. But it is opening day in Hawaii, and still being seen in a winnable game here. The Cardinal underdogs in Hawaii. Here you go. Ready? Write it down. 36-33 Warriors. I'm jumping on that 53 total also. I mean, I expect closer to 70 than 50. I'll tell you that right now. Hawaii is going to cover the -2, and the total flies in with that over. And now you have two bets to make for the Stanford Hawaii game. You're welcome. Okay, let's get back to that K-State Iowa State game where the season officially opens at high noon Eastern time, which is 5 o'clock in Dublin. And Wildcats are listed at plus 250, with Arizona State and Utah also at plus 250, and Texas Tech right behind them at plus 275 to win the Big 12. So, yeah, I don't think any of them are going to do it. I'll tell you that right now. I don't see any one of those four in the Big 12 title game this year. How's that grab you? You know, I told you all on my Team Totals podcast, Iowa State and Cincinnati are going to be playing for the Big 12 title this year. And my Team Total Future show, I hope you got that. Iowa State's getting plus 3.5, and 49.5 is showing on this total at 50 points. 50 points to get paid? Well, hold on. Avery Johnson's back for the Wildcats, and Rocco Becht is back for the Cyclones. Despite that Big 12 title game loss last year, at least they recovered a little bit with that wild 42-41 win over Cam Ward, Miami. That was quite a game, too, man. What a finish that. Yeah, that could have been a disastrous finish for them. Going 0-2 to finish the year after a nice season just could have been a double disappointment there, but 11 wins, still quite an achievement. And if Becht is healthy, Iowa State can navigate their way back to the Big 12 title game again, and it all starts today as underdogs in Dublin. I have Iowa State in that plus 3.5 on the board, and that 49.5 going over that total. And that's it. Let's just bounce to the weirdest game of the Saturday slate, and that's that Idaho State heading to Vegas, baby. UNLV awaits them, and Idaho State head coach Cody Hawkins is expected to play everyone on his roster, according to the Idaho State Journal article I was reading the other day. Of course, all right, I'll get to that. Jordan Cook is likely going to get the start at quarterback for the Bengals. Remember last year, the season opener against Oregon State, they put 4 quarterbacks on the field to get some experience. So that really means that Jackson Sharman and Logan Gonzalez will probably see some playing time. But what does that mean? Oregon State beat them down 38-15 last year with the season opener. So how did that really go? And the defense for the Bengals really isn't all that bad this year. I think that's probably going to be their strong suit. Even the coach is saying as much, that the defense was dominating the offense in the preseason practices. And 64.5 points, huh? It's pretty high total to expect that many points in a season opener with these two teams. I can't do it, man. Calandia and Orjai are going to be back. I mean, not back, but they're going to be playing for the Rebels this year. Dan Mullen, of course, is saying he expects both of them to play just a lot. Like he even said, I don't even know who's starting. They might both start. And I said to myself, wait. What do you mean they might both start? What do you mean one guy's going to play the first down, the first play? All right, get Orjai out there. Okay, but I don't get it, man. All this movement at quarterback is not going to help anyone keep cohesion on that field. So give me that under 64.5 in Vegas between Idaho State and UNLV. And that's a local 1 p.m. start. That's early in Vegas. I don't know how many people are going to be at that game. You know what? I mean, 1 o'clock in the afternoon when you've been partying all night on a Friday night. I mean, I've been to Vegas a ton, man. I don't even think I've ever seen 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I've been asleep. Anyway, let's get to the last two games that are Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. Oh, man, Bearcats managed a 10-win season, first at the FBS level, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why the Hilltoppers are laying double digits. Okay, so they're home. So what? Abilene Christian grad transfer Maverick MacGyver is going to have the starting role for Western Kentucky, and he's pocketed 8,000 passing yards as he takes over at center for the Toppers. But only 2 guys on offense came back this year. It's great that they made it to the conference title game last year with an 8-4 regular season. But here's where we talk about that disappointing finish. They lost the Conference USA title game badly against Jacksonville State, and then James Madison ended their season with a Boca Raton Bowl loss. So 8-4 turned to 8-6, and everybody jumped ship. So with so much turnover, I don't get how they're going to cover double digits. I really don't. Hunter Watson's going to return for the Bearcat offense. They lost a lot, man. Defense, too. Here's my prediction. 31-28. And that damn total is 62.5. It's pretty close, but 59 points I expect. You know what? Even if it is 38-28 at the end of the day, I'm getting 10.5 points with Sam Houston anyway. I'll take the Bearcats to cover that 10.5 points. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't never lay. You know me anyway. I'm a big dog kind of guy to begin with. And 10.5 points is a boatload of points for a team that's not really bringing a lot back. And the Saturday slate has Fresno State and Kansas left to discuss. And this game could be a little tricky because it's the first meeting between them. E.J. Warner transferred in over from Fresno. The Bulldogs lost their top 6 wideouts from last season, so he's going to be working with all new guys. Not that he wouldn't be anyway, because he's coming over here all fresh and new. Fresno State Matt Entz went 60-12. 2 FCS titles when he was with North Dakota State last year. He kind of took a little step back as a linebacker coach at USC, but it'll be interesting to see how he does in his first FBS season with the Bulldogs in the Mountain West. He has an offensive line full of experience with seniors and juniors, even though 3 guys left the program, had some experience last year. But, Kansas isn't exactly expected to make a lot of noise in the Big 12 this year. Jalen Daniels is back with the Jayhawks and still a 5-7 team from last year. 5-7. Although they did finish that season with wins over Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado, which is pretty nice. They did miss out on the bowl. But, 4 of their losses were by 4 points or less. So the expectations in camp this year are actually higher, but what everyone's saying about them. That schedule's going to be tough to navigate, though. Look at that Kansas schedule. If you want to open your sheet and look at that, oh boy. Line setters are giving Kansas double digits as favorites. So I guess they're hoping that Kansas starts at least on a positive note. 12.5 and 50 of the lines for this game. 50.5. And I'm sorry, that 50.5 is totally achievable for these two. I'm going to make a play on this total to go over that number. I mean, 27-24. I don't know if it'll be that close, but that's 51 points right there. And I can see that 51.5 going over. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it could even be like a 31-27 type of game, too. I think it'll be a closer game than people think. So, yeah, play that total. And that will put a stamp on what they're calling week 0. I don't know what the hell week 0 is, but okay. All right, all 5 games are covered here on the Throwdown podcast, and next weekend's going to be a big one. So I hope you join me again to get my betting advice for that. And let's get you out of here. I am EJ Gar, and I really only have one left thing to say is please go follow and subscribe, and hang out with my Spotify podcast. I'll always be informed as soon as I put a podcast up. You can be in the know. So again, thanks for joining me. This is the NCAA College Football Throwdown podcast. So I'll get you all out of here. Ciao.